You're still watching the AM show. This is the show worth waking up to on DSTV channel 41 and GoTV channel 144. We'll continue with our end of year series with the Member of Parliament. And today, Kwesi Parker-Wilson brings us another exclusive conversation with WA Central MP RASHID Pelpuo. So enjoy.
Well, thank you very much for your time today. It's RASHID Pelpuo, right?
Yes.
RASHID. But we often say RASHID Pelpuo. We've corrected the name.
Pelpuo. Yes.
See. What about, we are looking at the 1 year of the hang parliament. Quite a unique parliament it is. You have 137. Your colleagues also have 137 in the House. First of all, I want to understand from you being in parliament, there's a fit time. A few years gone by. If you look at that parliament and this parliament, what is the uniqueness of this parliament?
Well, thank you so much. We've gotten to a stage in the life of the Ghanaian legislature where both sides can speak with a voice. They have confidence in that they can win a vote, and that there is no clear majority that can always push things through, and that there is some level of respectability, you know, in the two sides of the aisle. So essentially, we've got a change in the demography of Parliament, and it has created a high level of confidence in the kind of legislature we have.
Is this a change for progress or a change of stagnation?
It's a change of progress for political science observers and watchers, that eventually you have a situation where a government cannot just be autocratic in its decision and cannot just control Parliament the way they want it. It's bad news for government, because if you are used to going to Parliament and getting what you want at any point in time, and you now get to know that, look, you need to discuss with the minority, you are not sure of the kind of speaker, you can't sit in your chamber or the presidency and take a phone call and say, I want this done, and it's done. It's bad news for the government. But indeed, it's good news for the people of Ghana and our democracy. It sounded so nice.
Is it really good news for people of Ghana? Because some say that you are stagnating government business. You are frustrating and obstructing government business.
No, we are examining to the detail government business. We are monitoring government business. We are providing enough search on what government does to itself, and the kind of responsibility a government must demonstrate to the people. We are holding them to that, and because it's the first time we are experiencing it, people are not finding it easy. You know, they think that it's an obstruction of government business. Think about what happens in the developed world, where we are copying these elements of democracy. You know, you can have an opposition throw away government business and propose a business and agree to government to draw up a business to the benefit of the people. Very recently, you can see what is happening in the UK Congress. You know, so these things are normal.
And the minority is ready to throw out government business?
If they are not in consonance with the wishes and aspirations of the people, and we can do so, we will do so.
How do you determine the aspirations of the people? Because you are not the one governing this country, are you?
Yeah, but we know what exactly is required, you know, for the people. We know what they have promised the people, and we know how to fulfill the promise. If you say you want to make sure, you know, you keep public expenditure safe, you must demonstrate that responsibility. You can't say that and then go about borrowing. Nobody knows what you are doing with the money, and then you come for more. We will ask you, what did you do with the rest of them, with the rest of the money? And if you cannot provide enough explanation, we are the people. We stand in for the people. We tell you, you can't get that. Just like they are asking for more money through the e-levy. They haven't demonstrated sufficiently enough to us that the huge sums of money they have taken over the years have shown some, you know, have progressed, have created enough evidence for us to say that, look, let's give it to them anymore.
There's the free SHS policy. They're taking care of your nieces, your nephews, your constituents. You're benefiting from it.
And that's the kind of language they speak, as if that is the only thing they promise Ghanaians. They promise us so many other things, you know. They promise us 350 secondary schools. Have they built them? They have promises, one district, one factory. They did a few in other places. Have they finished them? Their promises, dams, have they finished them? So many other things have been promised. They have failed to deliver. They can only deliver one thing, which is not even sufficiently delivered, free secondary school, free senior high. And then, based on that, they can hide behind that and do all the bad things a government would do to the people. And, you know, a responsible opposition cannot watch them do all this.
And that's what some say, that if the government, in quote, is messing up, is misbehaving, is mismanaging the economy, just wait, leave the decision to the electorate. Let them wait. They have up to 3 years, 2024. They'll go back to the electorate. The electorate will now decide whether to renew their mandate or to boot them out of office.
That is the most...
It is not your place to frustrate government business.
It's the most irresponsible opinion by anybody, that you vote in an opposition to monitor what government does, to make sure they do the right thing, and you tell the public that, well, let them do what they want, and at the end of it, you vote for them. Who would tell the people that they are doing the wrong thing, you shouldn't vote for them again? It's our responsibility. Who should keep the public purse away from the predators and those people who want to just take money from the state and spend it on their own, privatize it and own it? It must be the opposition. So we have a huge responsibility. We can't wait for them to destroy the economy, then we turn around and say, now vote them out. No, we keep them to the pace within which they can do the right thing. Anything short of that, we would show...
So you continue to frustrate them?
No, it's not frustration. We continue to oppose responsibly. We oppose them responsibly. We show them what we are opposing. We tell them the alternative. For example, the e-levy, we say, look, there's nothing wrong about you getting frustrated because you have borrowed too much, you can't borrow anymore, you now want to raise money. Now, but do that responsibly. There's nothing wrong with starting with a certain figure like 0.5 and then go ahead with it. They don't want it that way. They want to make sure they take as much as they can from the people of Ghana who are already suffering. People have gotten to the point when, you know, they are neck deep into the waters of pain. So I think that's, we can't wait for them to get to the end of it.
But this last 1 year has been characterized with a lot of acrimony, a lot of tension. Is this what you're offering the people of this country?
No, there's no tension, there's no acrimony.
There's no tension in Parliament?
There's no tension.
There's no acrimony?
There's no acrimony.
The election of the Speaker, we saw what happened.
Oh, but you are talking about...
Recently, we saw what happened.
Oh, no, but that's not what you are talking about. You are just talking about the after the Speaker, the opposition going on. You know, we will oppose them. If by opposing them, we will shout, we will shout. If by opposing them, they will shout to let Ghanaians know we are opposing them unfairly, they will shout. Those are elements, those are things that you will expect in any democracy. It shouldn't get to the point when you should be exchanging blows. It shouldn't get to the point...
We've been there before. It's the second time we are seeing acrimonious scenes in the chamber. First was the election of the Speaker, and now the rejection or otherwise the approval of the budget.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the rejection...
You regret that action?
The rejection of the Speaker, the election of the Speaker aside, you know what happened.
You can't put that aside.
Well, if you want to include that, I say yes, there was some acrimonious actions taken because there was an irresponsible conduct by the majority side, you know, to a democratic process that got to an end. And if it means doing everything to make sure we retain that element of democracy in Parliament, we will do it. It is better to do so than to cry out and complain when a bigger conflict arises, to destroy every structure of democracy we have built over the years. So that was a necessity. We will do it again if there is any such thing.
You will do it again?
Let me repeat it.
The level of violence we saw in the chamber?
Excuse me to add to you that we will do it again to protect the country's constitution, our democracy, and to ensure that we don't have any bad elements within us who, because of arrogance, because of emotional attachment to what they believe in, will bring down the whole system of our democracy and stamp on it. We will not agree. It's better to fight that way in Parliament than to allow somebody walking with a gun to say they are destroying everything we have built. That is why I'm insisting that if we have any such elements who will walk into our system and seek to destroy it, we'll get up and fight it away, you know, in a responsible manner that should not destroy the whole structure.
Right, so Honorable, I'm getting the sense that you seek to protect our democracy. But again, there are those who said that, even though you've talked about responsible opposition, the point has been made that for those who were captured on camera misbehaving should be singled out and punished.
Oh, well, if they contradict the rules, there's nothing wrong with...
In your view, what happened to contradict the rules?
Well, what contradicted the rule major was the fact that after the election of the speaker had been done, counting was in progress. There had been obvious, it was obvious that the sitting speaker who was contesting again had lost the vote. And in the process of counting the present speaker's votes, somebody walked in or dashed into the booths and then collected pieces of the voting material and was running away with it, chewed some of it. It's highly, highly, highly irresponsible.
You're disappointed it wasn't punished?
Well,
or hold before the privilege committee?
It's important that we investigate this to the fullest and then, you know, come out with something. But a lot of water has gone down the drain.
Yeah, but that's what I'm surprised. That's what I'm asking you. A year down the line, you think that Parliament became quite lenient on him for undermining the very integrity of this House?
That's also for the public to take a decision on.
But what's your view on that?
My view is that nobody should be allowed to do that wrong and go away with it.
So he should have been punished.
So we should have further worked on it, investigated it, you know, because if you say he should have been punished, nobody's guilty until he's found to be guilty. So it should have been properly investigated, and if he was found guilty of the offense, the right things should be done, because that should be the point we can strengthen our democratic hold, you know, on the legislature, so that, you know, apart from this free speech and every other thing, people must be responsible in the way they conduct themselves.
I see. So, so you are disappointed that didn't happen? I mean, the process didn't go through to investigate him further over his conduct?
No, if I say I'm disappointed, it's an indictment on me and everybody else in particular. We still have the opportunity to do something about it. You know, crimes or commitment, if you commit crimes.
But that's over a year.
Yeah, it doesn't die. Even it can be 10 years later. It can still be brought to the fore. And then, you know,
if you feel very strongly about this, why didn't you move a motion? I mean, file a motion. I mean, call on your leadership to investigate that.
Well, the leader, I'm very, very confident in our leadership, and I know that it might just be a matter of time. If we want to take a decision, we will take the decision on that. So, and I'm very sure, I remember that all these things came to the fore. They were asked to be investigated from both sides. Investigations went on. We are yet to get the full, the fullness of it. We've not gotten. We are to get to the fullness of the, you know, the investigations and to know exactly what happened.
Fast forward to a few weeks ago, where members of your side, Electional Way, Jaja, and the likes were also seen misbehaving in the chamber. Should the same principle apply to them?
Misbehaving in what way?
I mean, you saw Electional Way snatching the speaker's chair. Honorable Jaja trying to grab the maze. Yes.
The gentlemen who were seen doing those things were interviewed, and I heard the Ashama MP saying when it happened, it was important to protect the Speaker's chair. So he went in for it. And this other gentleman also said, look, the halubalu in the house, the maize is such an important element, or symbol. It's a symbol of authority of Parliament, and it needed not to have been. Somebody could just snatch it and take it away. So those are things that they have explained. But if we are not satisfied with the explanations, we can still investigate.
What's your view? Do you think that Parliament should investigate this? Because some say it undermines Parliament, the integrity of Parliament.
If we
the
think,
Speaker, when he returned, apologized on behalf of Parliament.
Yeah, so once the Speaker thinks that there was something wrong and he apologized, I don't think that, what will I be saying about that? That the Speaker hasn't, her apology is not worthwhile, and that we should still do something about it. You see, when we are talking about democracy, we are not talking about one particular group of people exercising democratic rights and duties, but the public as well will show responsibility in questioning some of the things that happened. If in Parliament I am sitting here, I'm not so maybe open to this, not open, I'm not discussing them to the way you want, because I'm one of them, and I might not see something wrong with what has happened. The public, if
what
the
is wrong is wrong, what is right is right.
Yeah, if the public sees so much wrong with it, they can as well take it up. So that it must be, a comprehensive approach to what it's all about, what our democracy is all about. It's not just members of Parliament. If the public are seeing it and are very disconcerted about it, they should cry out and insist that we investigate it. We are willing to do it. I'm very happy to see investigations in these matters, and I'm happy if they are investigated and people are found guilty and the right or appropriate measures are taken. Very happy about that, because I will never give anything that will, I will never do or agree on anything that eventually is going to reduce, the essence of our democracy. It's important that we fight to maintain it. So I support anything that will strengthen it. I support anything that will investigate any ills, to bring out the right.
Is it likely we would see some of these things going forward in the next 3 years again?
You will always find them happening.
Find them happening? You can't find a way of disagreeing without resorting to violence?
You will always find them happening in situations where, like I mentioned earlier, where people will want to circumvent the rules and do what is not in accordance with our democratic principles. Yes.
If you are dissatisfied with somebody's action, you have to follow the rules.
But we are talking about irregularities that happen because others have started it. And there are some things that if you don't apply a certain measure right now at the time the matter is happening, you will not in future get the opportunity to finalize and to finally get to correct it. For example, if we allowed the gentleman to chew the thing and walk away free, and then they come and they say, okay, there are 3 votes missing, and once they are missing, that is it, 136 has won. And then they declare that he has won. Where will you go and correct it any longer? So it has to be corrected once it occurs. There are some challenges once they come into foreplay to contradict the essence of our democracy. You fight to offset them. And once you do so, then you create the level grounds for everyone.
The acrimonious scenes, the misunderstanding, the violent misunderstanding will play out in the next 3 years, because looking at the numbers, 137, 138 going forward.
I hope that it shouldn't. I hope that it shouldn't, because I hope that there would not be any circumvention of the rules. And I hope also that people will respect themselves.
But
and
if they don't respect it?
If they don't respect it, then the likelihood is that people will not respect the rules as well.
See.
To ensure that the right thing is done. You see, if we wait for someone to climb to the Speaker's chair and give him a slap, and you say, well, we will wait for the slap to occur before we go addressing it with the rules, you would have failed in your duty as a citizen. Once you see the person moving up the stage, you block him. If by blocking him you will have to use the muzzle, you do that.
That's use force.
Yes.
Violent behavior.
Well, the person is going for a violent behavior. You think it's normal. So I think that if you allow the bad ones to predominate the conduct of Parliament, eventually, and every other person sits and watch and say, well, let's wait until they finish it. They finish doing what they are doing violently, then we can then go to court, or we can then, you don't even need to go to court. In Parliament, we solve our own problems. And then you then apply the rules of the privileges of Parliament. You would have failed as a responsible member of Parliament.
I see now, the next 3 years, is it the strategy of the minority to give government a tough time?
It is our strategy to insist that the right thing is done. Look, in the last 4 years, there had been so much irresponsible use of resources and so much irresponsible use of the security. And we are not going to tolerate that. If we tolerate that, it will be irresponsible on our part. If we cannot monitor the effect of use of funds, then our being in Parliament is useless. If we cannot stop government from overstepping its bounds, then our use as members of Parliament in the opposition will come to nothing. So we will insist in doing the right. If by doing the right to our thinking and to our capacity, we are seen to obstructing government business, we will leave it to the rest of the public to measure. Because if you allow power to blossom the way it should go, like Lord Acton says, you know, if you have too much power, then you will give there will be irresponsibility in the use of it. So we will insist that the right thing is done.
I see. Now let's talk about how this hang Parliament. I don't know what that is, because at every point in time, and then in the chamber, is it affecting your activities on the ground in the constituency?
No, it's giving us more responsibility on the floor of Parliament. If you cannot travel, I listened to Adongo the other time on Metro, and he said that he couldn't travel for the chief imam's what do you call that, funeral, because he was compelled to stay in the chamber. And that is okay. I mean, you can postpone the funeral and attend later. You cannot prefer it to what is responsible in the chamber. What the people of Ghana want you to do is to stay in the chamber and do business. Now, if you take time off and travel the way you want, people just sometimes can travel out of the country because they have to attend a person's wedding and all that, or they have to do something else. Somebody is sick, he has to travel out.
Anymore.
So it's creating more conscience, more commitment to the house, more ready awareness of what happens, so that, you know, responsibility to the house increases.
So you are restricted in your movement?
No, not restricted. We are compelled to do the right all the time, to stay in the chamber. Yeah, I don't think it's too much for us. It's okay. As opposition, I like to be in Parliament all the time to help my people, the people of Ghana, so that the right thing is done.
I see. Now, the majority leader, do you see him being a man of building consensus with the minority?
No, at all. The majority leader is a well-experienced gentleman who has achieved a lot in his time in Parliament, has gained a lot of experience in what he does. He understands government, Parliament, and he demonstrates that understanding in everything he does, you know, especially in his articulation and commentary on the law, bills and statements and agreements and etc., etc. But in the course of that, he lost in the trend. And as a result, he can't understand that government doesn't stoke fires. We don't put on fires. You put off fires. And often, he still sometimes would behave like an opposition leader.
He behaves like opposition?
Sometimes behave like an opposition leader. Would not let anybody go with a comment they make once the comment appears to touch indirectly or directly on criticizing him or criticizing the government or anything. He would rise to challenge it. When you are in government and you are a leader of government business, one of the fundamental things you do is to allow the opposition to speak. You allow them their voice, and then you repair. Once you have their voice and you have the agreement, you are done. Essentially, your job is to get people to agree to government business. If it even means lobbying behind the scenes and getting the job done, it should happen. But if you fight every single event that takes place in Parliament, you spend the time fighting as if you were in opposition.
Is that what she's doing?
I'm saying sometimes the leadership there fight as if they are in opposition. They don't seem to be they don't seem to be trying to pull through government business, trying to allow some dogs to sleep and some issues to lie. But they every time want to litigate every issue. If you litigate every issue, then you find that the House is always in confusion. So I have free advice to him that it's not everything that he has to fight. He does well in many of the things, but does poorly in many of them, especially when he stands to fight every single thing that happens.
If he treads on that tangent, is good. What is actually get government business going forward?
It will not. I was a leader before, along with Cletus Aboka. We conspired, not conspired. We agree on many of the instances to allow some of the things to happen. And then, once they speak and feel that they have spoken, there are people see them speaking, fighting. And they can agree to government business. Can you imagine how do you call that one? That estate agreement, is it STX or?
Yeah, STX.
Yes, how it got through with a huge opposition from the public and from inside Parliament, how it went through is because we allow so much talking to happen. We allow everybody to speak their mind. And in the end, they were tired speaking their minds. They were happy that their opposition was seen by their people, that they opposed it vigorously. And then we put it through and we got it through. I mean, several other instances existed in that manner where we would allow space for the opposition to speak the way they wanted. And then we got what we wanted, the agreement we wanted. And more so, we still won the elections. So what next? What next? So I think that if you don't develop the capacity to tolerate differences,
so he's not tolerant.
You would always have it a tough.
Do you think he's tolerant? The majority leader.
Well, he's tolerant to some issues and very intolerant to others. So he cannot be seen to be one of the two.
I see. So consensus, is it going to suffer, or you strive to achieve consensus going forward?
We will want to see consensus happening. We want to see the opposition respected, the views of the opposition taken into consideration, and we will work with government thoroughly. I don't want to see that acrimony happening in government. I want to see government business go through. I want to see issues brought before us with a lot of understanding between us, so we don't have the kind of huge differences cutting across the debates that we have, But in the midst of government not wanting to listen to opposition, insisting on what they want, without making any shift at all, despite the opposition that we offer, you will definitely have us also insist on what we believe in, because we come from different shades of opinion.
So briefly for me, in the last 1 year, how do you describe Parliament?
In the last 1 year, Parliament has been a change Parliament. You know, it's not the Parliament we used to see all the time. It's been one that requires much more consideration, much more discussion. It may not happen. It's not happening the way we want, but it does happen, and so it's an experiment we are going through. It's the first time it's happening in 1992, where you have a hung parliament. Yeah. So I can see that we are going through an experimental phase, which will add to the recipe of experiences that we have. That in the end, that existential quality that enables us to perform the role of both government and opposition will be enhanced.
I see. Now we are wrapping up shortly, but before that, is the NDC ready to return to power?
When NDC is 100% ready, we've had it before. John Dramani Mahama had been a leader before, had been president before. In his presidency, he showed class distinction, and people are beginning to see the difference between him and this government. His rule and the Nanado's rule. The same John Mahama is still there. NDC is determined to bring him back to power.
Is he the one you want to lead the
Very
party?
very likely. He's going to be the one.
But in your view as an MP for etc., should John Mahama lead the NDC?
Yes.
2024?
Yes. He should lead the NDC. We want him to come back to power. We want NDC to come back to power. Under John Mahama, we've had it before, we've had the experience before. It's not going to be a trial and error kind of experience, you know. So whether to ask the question whether NDC is ready for power, it's like a tautological question that you know what it is and you are still asking the question. You know, we know that we have done it before, and we know that we still have the men, we still have the policies, very good policies, and we will be able to perform functions much more effectively. You see, it's not going to be like this government. Out of government, they thought that it was that easy. Remember when Nanado was asked, when he talked about figure, they asked him how much it will cost. You know what figure he gave? He said $78 million Ghana cedis. 78 million Ghana cedis. And you also know Baumia saying that they won't borrow money again. They won't borrow money at all, because he knows that there's money, because he had worked in Bank of Ghana before. So those were novices, experiences that didn't play into real governance. And when they were given the opportunity, they realized that everything was new. And so they had to try. And they thought that by going to borrow so much, they could do so much. They borrowed that much and did very little with it. Okay. So we don't know what they are going to do now, with a few years to end it up.
So the breaking the 8 mantra, I mean, the NDC will break the 8 for the NPP.
Breaking the 8 is a political statement. It has nothing to do with the reality. It can't be a real thing. Okay. You know, it's just to satisfy their own ego and to satisfy the most faithful supporters that something is positive is happening. But every Ghanaian now knows that the MPP has failed, and that they should mark time to come back again with another candidate in future, not with the present leadership, not with Baumia.
No Baumia?
No, not with
Baumia. Baumia is your someone who hails from the north.
But John Mahama also hailed from the north, but he criticized him. He criticized him to the point of death.
I see.
So, I mean, that has nothing to do with this politics. I like Baumia as a young man, you know, as a person who has made history. But what he has demonstrated over the last 5 years has shown failure and has shown incompetence, has shown lack of foresight, has shown that they can't continue. I think it's obvious for every Ghanaian. If you go to any community, call any young man and ask him about whether the MPP has done well or not, they'll say they better go.
Right, Honorable, we thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Today, Rashid Pelpuo is the Member of Parliament for our Central, and of course, he's confident NDC is coming back in 2024, and definitely the government will face some tougher opposition going forward into the next 3 years. I'm Kwesi Parker Wilson, and this is Joy News.